Hello, my name is Joe the Donk, and today I'm playing 1-3 at Delago, upstate New York. My goal is to make $50 per hour playing 1-3, and I'm documenting my entire trip via this vlog. This is our first episode. I'm anxious, I'm excited. We buy in for 1,000, matching the biggest stack on the table, and let's dive right into the action and start donking. We pick up our first playable hand, Ace-6 of clubs, 20 minutes in. Just button straddle to $6, MP cost to 6, I make 25 to go in the low jack, and everybody folds. Yeah, I know it's a boring hand, but we will win our first hand of our first episode. A win is a win, right? We're off to a good start. Just one hand later, we pick up the exact same hand, Ace-6 of clubs. I'm in +1 and open to $10. I know it's a loose open, but in these low stakes, free bets are rare, so you can get away with opening just a tad wider, provided you have good donking, post-flop skills. But this time we get slapped right into the face, we get 2 calls and then cut off 3 bets to $45 and the big blind cold calls to 45. At this point, all options are open. We can call to try to see a flop, or we can 4-bet as a bluff because the big blind callers are very capped with dead money in the middle, or we can just fold. However, 3 bets in these games are usually quite nutted, so I don't really want to 4-bet into a nutted range. Calling is also pretty bad because Ace-6 of clubs is a heavily dominated hand versus multiple opponents. For example, if cutoff has Ace-King and big blind has pocket nines, we're just dead to clubs. Even if we're getting better odds with the cold caller, we need to play tighter in multiple situations. Plus we are out of position as well, so I took the third and safest option and just folded. There's no saying that if the cards come back to you, you've got to keep and play them, and then we immediately get karma for not doing so. Flop comes. Queen A9, 2 diamonds, we miss, just kidding. The very next shuffle we peel pocket 7s under the gun. Just button straddle to 6, big blind calls to 6, I make 25 to go, only button comes alone. Flop is beautiful, 10, 7 deuce, 2 diamonds, with flop middle set on wet and dynamic board. I check. Just in case if you're confused, I'm checking my entire range out position on wet and dynamic boards because general 1-3 population plays poorly against a range check. That is, they bet a bit too much, they tend to telegraph their hand strength with their bet sizing, and they do not protect their check back range. So I think playing a range check here is more profitable as you get a lot more information from your opponent when you check to them. Well, obviously, betting here is fine too. Anyways, button bets $35, which is a relatively large bet compared to the size of the pot, which means strength. He only has about 150 behind, so I put him all in and he snap calls. Looking to fade a diamond or any straight completing cards. If he has pocket 10, so be it. Turn is a beautiful ace of clubs, and the river is the beautiful king of hearts. Unless he has exactly queen jack of diamonds, which should be good here. I fast roll my set, button signs, and shows 8-9 of clubs. Oh boy, he had way too many outs on the turn, we had to dodge half a deck on the turn. Anyways, we drag a significant pot our way with our first set of the day. Next up, our stack just dwindles a little bit when we open Ace-10 off. Got 3 calls, missed the flop, and just check fold. We open pocket 5s, call a 3-bet, 4-way to the flop, no 5, and we check fold. We then open Ace-9 clubs, get 3-bet again, and then we just fold. Remember I said 3-bets in these games are rare? I swear to God, today is just an exception. I got 3-bet more times today than my whole last month. I'm not kidding, maybe a table change. A few minutes later, we pick up 10-10 offsuit. We open to $10, we get 2 calls before low jack, one of the regulars at a casino, 3 bets to 55. Yes, I got 3-bet again, yes, I know. This time, I'm not folding the 5th best hand ever created in Texas Hold'em. 4-bet would be a bit of overplay, so I just flat call the 55 and everybody else fold. Low jack has about $1,000 in his stack. We cover him a little bit slightly, so we are very, very deep to the flop. Flop comes king jack jack rainbow. I check, low jack bets 40. Against this sizing, I guess we just kind of have to peel one street. Folding right now will be just too tight, I guess. Obviously, we could be beat, we could be dead just to a 10. when he has ace king, king queen, aces, etc. But he's a reg, so he can still have various hands like ace queen, ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited that we beat. Plus, if he has ace queen and we somehow spike a 10, we might win a lot. Anyways, we make an uncomfortable call, let's say, to a turn, which is the 7 of diamonds, doesn't change anything. I check and he checks back, which makes me feel a little bit better. Obviously, low jack can still have queens like ace king or even aces that is pot controlling against me of possibly having a jack. But overall, I'm happy to see him check behind. River is another 7. Again, it doesn't change anything. I check, praying for another check back to get to showdown. Low jack tanks and says board. So we show the 10s and it's good. We drag another good pot. This hand just shows that even regs that are aggressive pre-flop, they're still underbluffing the river, which means we need to massively overfold the river in these games. Well, at least on these type of boards. We pick up ace queen off in the small blind. There is an underground raise to 15, cut of course. I just make the call. I know, we should 3-bet here probably, but hear me out. We face an early position raise from a recreational player with a limping range. So he limps with some hands and raises with some other hands. So ace queen is not doing too well versus a raising range. Also, I'm comfortable with my post-flop skill, so I don't mind seeing a flop out of position with players who make massive post-flop mistakes. Unfortunately, that's not what we get. The big blind 3-bets. Yes, again, we face a 3-bet. To 55. Underground calls, I just fold. The big blind's range is even more nutted, as it's so easy for him to close the action and see a flop with hands like king jack suited, ace 9 suited, etc. So this is classic under the gun raise, big blind 3-bet, tight versus tight configuration. I'm just getting out of the way with ace queen off. Next hand, we pick up the beautiful king 10 of hearts in the big blind, 40% of a royal flush. There's a button straddle to $6, I make it 20 to go, undergun plus 1 calls, and button also calls. The flop is above average. It comes to beautiful queen deuce 7 all hearts. Yes, we flop the second nuts with a 60% of a royal flush. Although this board is wet, but it's quite static, meaning the nuts is unlikely going to change on later streets. On this type of monotone boards, players are less likely to bet too much, telegraph their hand strength with bet sizes, and do not protect their checkback range. So for example, even recreational players will check back this flop with pot pairs like queen jack, as monotone boards are very scary in general. So instead of range checking, as I would with most boards, I fire a small quarter pot size bet of $15 and everybody folds, unfortunately. Next hand, we pick up the beautiful suited 1-gapper, 9-7 of spades, in the hijack and open to $10, only the cut of course. The flop is ace 6-3, it goes check check. You might wonder why the hell am I not c-betting on a ace high flop. My answer is I'm out of position, so my general memo is to check a lot. And on ace high flops, even in position, I'm not c-betting complete airs because people in these stakes love playing ace rags. So the pre-flop caller actually has a lot more aces than you think. Anyways, flop goes check check, turns 7, we pick up some showdown value. It goes check check again, river's the king. I check to my opponent who bets $20, which is a large bet, pot size bet. I just fold. Next hand, we pick up yet another 40% off a royal flush, king jack of diamonds. I called a $15 raise, defending my big blind, and just check folded on ace queen jack, no diamond flop, 4 ways. I included this hand showing that I tend to play really tight multi-way, especially on ace high or 3 Broadway flops where people massively underbluff. For example, on ace queen jack flop, in theory, you need to turn hands like pocket 8s into a bluff to have enough bluffs as the pre-flop raiser. Well, most 1-3 players just aren't doing that. They just check back pocket 8 for showdown value. But what do I know? I'm a donk. Let's move on. Everyone limps except the button. We check our option in the big blind, and we are to the flop of ace 9 deuce, 2 hearts. So we flop top pair with ace 4 off. My general strategy in limp multi-way parts is to play very cautiously and do a lot of checking and small bets. I check and action goes check republic. The turn brings a jack of spades. Small blind leads out for $15. I call. Under the gun also calls. Everybody else folds. Freeway to a river, which brings the 3 of hearts, completing the obvious front door flush draw. Small blind checks. I check. Under the gun bets $25. Small blind calls. At this point, I really beat nothing, so I make a relatively tight fold. Undergun shows surprisingly jack 4 off, but small blind shows 10 deuce of hearts for a flush and wins. Moving on to the next significant hand, we pick up ace jack off in the hijack. There's a button straddle to $6, small blind calls to $6 first to act. I bump it up to $25 to go, only the cutoff calls. The cutoff only has like $55 behind, and everybody else votes, and we take flop, heads up. The flop is king 9-3 rainbow, we break, we check, and he checks back. At this point, we know he probably doesn't have a king. He could have some underpairs or some 9x. If we were deeper, we could try to get him to fold that by the river, but he only has like $50 behind, which is less than the size of the pot. So I just give up at this point. Until the turn brings the jack of spades. I go all in for $55, he tanks for a long time and calls off with queen 9 of spades. River's a brick and we scoop. Next hand we pick up the exact same pocket 7s where we flop a set few hands before. This time hijack limps, cutoff limps, I make it 16 to go in the big blind. Both players call. At the moment, I thought there was only one limper, so I made it 16. I should have made it a bit bigger. But anyways, to a flop of 7, 5, 6, 2 spades. Yes, we flop a set again with the same 7s on a wet and dynamic board. Action checks through, and I know I have the best hand. Nobody has 8, 9, probably. If they do, nice trap. Turn's not good, but acceptable, which is the jack of spades. I need to start betting for value now. I bet 35, only the cutoff calls. He could have a bunch of ace of spades, 1 spade hand, and pen flush draw and pen straight draw. The river is a horrible 3 of spades, bringing 4 card to a straight and 4 card to a flush. Opponent bets 100, and I just snap fold. We're gonna lose with the set. Spoiler alert, this is the pot of the night. You might be wondering, why is there a stack of black 100 chips in the middle? That's because I added $1,000 to our stack to match the biggest stack, and I started recording this hand late, after I went all in, that is. Well, let's start from the beginning. We pick up pocket 7s again for the 3rd time tonight. This time the black variant. On the gun opens to $15. I'm only calling the small blind. We've flopped 2 sets with our previous 2 pocket 7s. Can we do it again? The answer is yes, we can. The flop is a beautiful queen 7 deuce rainbow. I check. Under the gun bets 25 into 33. When a recreational player bets nearly the size of the pot, it's almost always a good hand. It's not looking to get away from it. So this is always ace queen, kings, or aces. Am I ever trying to get these hands to fold? Probably not. So I make a big boy check raise to $200. Undergun doesn't think for too long before calling. He only started the hand with $900, so he has about $685 left behind. Turns the 8 of hearts, a total brick. So I just ask myself again, am I ever trying to get aces, kings, ace queen to fold? The answer is probably not, so I just put the money in. I just jammed for an overbet of $685, putting my opponent all in, and hence the stack of black chips in the middle. We fade the snap call, so we know we're not up against queens. Opponent doesn't think for too long before putting his remaining stack in, which is good news to us. River is another 8. We fast roll and we are good, of course. And just like this, we drag in a massive $1,800 pot, which is by far the biggest pot of the night. You might be wondering why am I playing 4-3 off? It's because I opened to $10 on the button before I look down at my cards. My strategy on the button is that if there are 2 recreational players in the blinds, I'm opening 100% of my buttons, as I shouldn't get free bet it nearly enough and I think I can outplay my opponent's post flop. But this time I get slapped hard in the face as small blind 3 bets me and I have to fold, obviously. One orbit later, I open my bottom blind again and got a free bet from the big blind. My face hurts. We pick up our first premium of the night, Ace-King suited, in the cutoff. There is an undergone straddle to 6, hijack with a regular makes it 15, which is very small size. I free bet to 50, button code calls to 50, which is very interesting, and so is the undergone straddler. The hijack, however, does not call, does not fold, but decides to 4-bet to a massive size of $300 with 400 behind. Oh well, this is not a fun spot. 4 bets in 1-3 are usually, nutted. Calling is pretty bad here, as if we miss the flop, we will just have to fold if the hijack jams for less than the size of the pot. Folding feels a little bit too tight, but I'm a donk. I don't want to fold Ace-King suited pre-flop. We have an ace and a king that blocks aces and kings, I suppose. Hijack is also regular, so he could have a bunch of hands be attacking the dead money out there with or without the nuts. Also, he just made it 15 pre-flop over a straddle, so I think that's generally pretty weak. Well, with all the dead money out there anyways, I don't mind a flip with queens, jacks or tens. So we take the aggressive option and we buckle up and we go all in for 700 effective. We fade the snap, which is really good, always feels good when fading the snap like this. We know we are not in a bad shape. However, hijack eventually 10 calls with queens, flop is ace high, and we win. We drag a massive pot. Is this a punt? Please let me know in the comments. Next interesting hand, we pick up ace-5 of clubs under the gun and open to $10. This is a little bit of a loose open, but that's fine. Both the cutoff and the button calls, so we are 3-way to a flop, which comes ace-7-6 with 2 hearts. I check my entire range, cutoff bets 15, button calls 15. This is already getting a little bit uncomfortable, just a little bit, as we have a marginal made hand in a multi-way pot. Part of me just telling me to fold, but I'm a donk, I don't care. I flop top pair, I can't just go to 1 bet, so I call. The turn is a 4 of clubs. We pick up a up and down straight draw to go along with our top pair, no kicker. I check, the cutoff does not stop betting. This time he wagers $55. Button calls again. At this point, if we don't have the straight draw here, we're just folding. Well, we turn this equity that's making us stick around. So we call the $55. If we don't improve on the river, we're just folding. The river is the deuce of spades, which is a total brick. Cutoff bets the 3rd time, this time a hefty $125. Button calls again, and at this point, this is just a snap fold. One of our opponents is going to have hands like ace-jack, ace-10, or even ace-queen. So I just snap fold, I fold, and cutoff shows pocket 7s. I think we kind of lost the minimum here. I think I like how I play this hand. Please let me know in the comments. We pick up our first big pair of the night, my 4th favorite hand in Texas Hold'em, JJ Barea. Under the gun limps for $3. I'm in the cutoff and raised to $20. I chose a bigger sizing because under the gun is steaming at the moment and playing any 2 cards. I could have even gone a little bit bigger to $25 or $30. Anyways, he calls and we take a flop of King Queen 3 rainbow. 2 spades. Action goes check check on the flop. Turn is an 8. He checks and I bet 35 and he calls rivers a 5 of spades, completing the front door flush. Draw. He checks. I happily check back and we win another medium-sized pot. We're now playing 5-handed. Next we pick up yet another 40% of a royal flush. A beautiful king jack of hearts. This undergun raised to $10. Undergun is a regular, and I have 3 recreational players behind me in the blinds. In these type of situations, my free betting range is polar, meaning only the strongest hands like aces, kings, queens, ace king suited that can cooler my opponent, and some weaker hands like ace 5 suited and maybe 6-7 suited where I can easily fold to a 4-bet. The rest of the hands I play, I like to play as a call, inviting the recreational players into the pot. Anyways, we call, the big blind also calls, and we take a flop 3 ways. Flop comes 7 deuce 3, 2 diamonds. Action checks to me. Since no one's interested, I take a stab and bet $20 with backdoor trips and backdoor 2-pair draw. Only the undergun calls. At this point, his range is kind of showdown value heavy, like an ace highs and under pairs like 4s, 5s and 6s. I think I can get them to fold by the river. Turns the 6 of spades. 4-5 gets there, but I think he's betting that on the flop. Pocket 6 also got there but I think he can still have a ton of ace highs and some under pairs that will probably fold to another bet. So I bet $50, just targeting the ace high and the under pair portion of his range. He again makes the call, however, let's take a river. River is the ace of diamonds, which is a very interesting card. It completes the front door flush draw and also eliminating anyone of having ace-x of diamonds. It is generally a good card for his range. He checks one more time. I ask myself the question, will ace king ever fold here? The answer is probably no, unless I bet egregiously large like an all-in. My hand does not contain a diamond to block potential flushes, so in the heat of the moment, I talk to myself, saying that I should bluff the river only with a diamond. But looking back, I should not have many one diamond offsuit hands getting to this river, as I'm not calling races with offsuit kings and queens, maybe just king-queen offsuit. But that's very narrow, so I should absolutely bluff this river, as my opponent shouldn't get here with many flushes, as most of his non-ace high flush draws should bet the flop or the turn. Anyways, I'm a donk, I give up and check back my king high. Opponent shows 8-7 offsuit, which is to my total surprise. One pair is better than king high, my friend, and you are going to win. We are going to lose this one. Next up, we pick up our favorite hand for the night, quote-unquote favorite, of course. Yes, pocket 7s. We open and we call 3-bet. We have so far flopped 3 out of 3 sets tonight with pocket 7s. Can we do 4 out of 4? Nope, the flop is ace king 4. We fold to a c-bet. However, we are grateful that we didn't get our set because our opponent, the 3-better, flop a set of kings and stack another opponent. Well, we can't flop them more. 3 out of 4 is pretty good. Maybe next time. Alright, next significant hand. We pick up ace queen suited in the big blind. There is a button straddle to $6. Small blind calls to $6. I make it 25 to go. Button, however, decides that's not enough. He jams for $182. Button's down for the night and he is steaming. I already put $25 into the pot. $182 is just 30 big blinds with the straddle. So after small blind tank vote, I happily make the call. We turn trip queens and we fast roll and we're good. Button shows pocket kings and we suck out. Small blind later told me that he had ace queen off as well. Well, I guess we got really lucky. We are late into the night, and at this point we are up about $2,000, but I decided to play on as the game on the other table looks pretty good. So we switch table. Our first playable hand on the new table, we pick up our fourth favorite hand, JJ Barria, on the button. Under the gun limps, cut off limps, I make it $20 to go. Big blind, under the gun, and cut off all calls, so we are 4-way to a flop. Flop comes queen deuce, 2 clubs. Action checks the cutoff, who leads out for a tiny $10, which is very interesting. Against this sizing, I'm always raising for value. This is usually pair, pocket pair, like pocket threes, pocket fours, ace deuce, suited, etc. That recreational players just monkey bets. Anyways, cut off calls, and everybody else folds. Turn is the 3 of spades. Cut off just donk jams for $190. This overbet jam is completely different to the small sizing on the flop. When a recreational player overbet jams, it's almost always value. We don't beat any value, so I make the snap fold. Cutoff is pretty nice. He's nice to show that he had queen 9 spades, so he had us dead all the way. Our read was completely off, but I should thank him for letting us off the hook, or value owning ourselves. Nice answer. Next interesting hand, we pick up a beautiful 7-8 of diamonds under the gun. Just a button straddle for $6, big blind calls to 6. I make it $25 to go. Cut off, button, big blind calls, and we are 4 ways to a flop. Flop is pretty good, it's pretty decent. It's nice 7-4 with 2 diamonds, so we flop middle pair with a flush draw. Big blind checks. This is a multi-way pot, so I'm checking pretty much everything here. So I check and it goes check republic. So let's take a turn. The turn brings the 4 of clubs. It's not a good card, but I don't think anyone has a full house. As a set, we'll probably bet on the flop on this wet and dynamic board. Anyways, the big blind leads out for $20. Nothing else for me to do except calling the 20, so I call. River is the queen of clubs. This time big blind slows down and checks. We know he doesn't have a queen. I get greedy and went for thin value, targeting 6s, 5s, etc. We lose to a 9, but we are chopping with most 7s, and we can get value from 6s, 5s, 3s, etc. So I went greedy and made a very thin value bet of $30. Big blind calls pretty quickly, and I say I have a 7 and show my 7, and he shows 9-3 of suit. I guess I was a bit too greedy. Nice answer. The too many outs syndrome is quite real. Alright, the very next hand we are in the big blind and pick up 7-8 suited again. This time the spade variant. Cutoff opens to $18, which is a very large raise. Small blind, which is the big blind from the last hand, calls the 18. I defend for $15 more, and we are 3 ways to a flop. The flop is even better than the last hand. It's 8-4 deuce 2 spades, so we flop back-to-back pair and flush draw. This time, however, we have the toppest of pair variant of the pair and flush draw. Small blind leads out for $15. There's nothing else for me to do here. I call, cutoff also calls, and we are 3 ways to the turn. Turns the 9 of clubs, bringing a backdoor flush draw. Small blind this time leads out for $30. Again, there's nothing else for me to do. I can't fold. I can't raise. So I can, but I don't think that's profitable. So I just called 30. The river is the 5 of clubs, completing backdoor flush draw. Also completing a couple of 6-7 and ace-3 type of hands. This time small blind bets $60 and I just elect to fold, as I'm not beating any of these value hands and he doesn't look like the type that is capable of folding hands. So I fold, and small blind is nice enough to show us he does have the queen jack of clubs. So he bet into 3 people with 2 overs and some backdoors on the flop, turned a straight flush draw and got there on the river. whereas our front door, pair and flush draw just breaks. Yeah, too many outs, I know. Nice answer. Next interesting hand, we pick up King Jack offsuit in the low jack. I open to $10, cut off, small blind, and the big blind comes along. We are 4 ways to a flop. The flop comes Ace-7-3 rainbow, action goes Czech Republic on the flop. The turn is a 6 of diamonds, bringing a backdoor flush draw and making the board a bit more wet and dynamic. Action checks to me, I check, cutoff bets $10, small blind folds, big blind just calls the $10, and action is on me. Obviously, we can just fold as we have completely nothing, but this $10 bet from the cutoff is very weak. It's almost never an ace. It's a 3 or 6 at best. The big blind is also very capped, as he will most likely either bet out himself or raise this $10 bet with strong hands, especially on this wet and dynamic turn. So I decided to do something funky. I decided to pounce on this weakness and made it $50 to go. The cutoff folds pretty quickly, the big blind tanks for a little bit and calls our $50 bet with $200 behind, and he proceeds to check in the dark, which is interesting. The river is the ace of spades. I was going to bluff the river, but when the ace comes, I don't think 3s, 6s, and 7s are ever folding. I have a little bit of a showdown value with my king high. We don't have a diamond, so that is also a good thing. So we beat hands like king 10 of diamonds, etc. We also beat some straight draws like 8, 9. So I just decided to check back. I showed my king high, and my opponent shows 4 deuce of clubs, and we win. Last interesting hand of the night, on the gun +1 limps, middle position limps, low jack raises to $10, hijack calls to $10. I'm in the cutoff, and I look down yet another 40% royal flush, the queen jack of spades, and decided to free bet to $50. Only the undergun +1 player calls. I know this is a light free bet, but the low jack showed lots of weakness by only ISOing to $10 over 2 limpers, and hijack's capped by just flat calling the $10 raise. So my general bluffing strategy in these low stake games is that I will only attack weaknesses like a cap range, both pre-flop and post-flop. I generally avoid making what's so-called quote-unquote GTO moves, bluffing to uncapped ranges, and often hitting brick walls. Anyways, we are heads up in a free bet pot, in position against a recreational player. It's a good spot for me. Flop comes 8-6-4 with 2 hearts, so we completely brick. Action checks me, I bet $35. In 3 bet pots in position, I'm c-betting my entire range small, especially on wet and dynamic boards. This bet is designed for my opponent to 1. Raise with their strong stuff, and 2. Call with their weak stuff. For example, when my opponent just calls the $35 bet, it is highly unlikely that he has a hand like a set, straight, or 2 pairs. Because recreational players tend to play with fear, they fear that their sets and straights and 2 pairs are going to be sucked out on this wet board. This means that when my opponent just flat calls the $35, they're mostly capped at 1 pair or draws, so this makes our bluffing a lot more profitable. Anyways, he calls and we are off to a turn. The turn is the 8 of diamonds, which is a very bad card to bluff. Any 8 is never folding now. Hands like 6-7 will be more sticky too, and in my opponent's shoes, my overpair should be scared of this 8, so betting big here doesn't make too much sense. So my plan was to bet big on the turn, just not on the 8 turn. So instead, when he checks to me, I'm just checking to give up. River is the 3 of clubs, so the front door flush draw missed. He checks to me one more time. I'm thinking that he probably doesn't have an 8 at this point. He has a 1 pair type of hand at best. But will he fold a hand like 6-7, pocket 9s, to an all-in? Probably not. And by the way, if I arrive here with a value hand, I'm always jamming, because I don't think 6-7, pocket 9s are ever folding. Anyways, so I'm just targeting his missed ace high and king high flush draws. So how much should I bet to fold out those hands? Probably not a lot. So I fire a very small bet of $70, just targeting the ace high and king high missed flush draws. My opponent signs and folds ace-7 of hearts face up. We got exactly what we wanted and we picked up a good pot. Overall, I'm happy about myself on how I played this hand. My reads were right, my bet sizing was fine-tuned and elegant, and we made a very efficient bluff. That is it for all the significant hands of the night. We played 9 hours of poker. Interestingly, we have not had a premium big pair that is aces, kings or queens, but we still booked a solid win. We bought in for $2,000, we cashed out for $3,802, so that's a solid $1,800 win for our first vlog episode. Our current hourly rate is $200 per hour. Let's keep it up. To be honest, I was very anxious about running bad or looking bad in our first episode, but things worked out for me. I ran well, I played okay, I felt pretty good and very happy for starting on a high note. And if you liked it, please hit the like and subscribe button, and please feel free to leave comments and give me some feedback so I can improve. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.